The alarm bells rang through the command deck of the Human Defense Force flagship Indomitable. Red lights flashed as crew members rushed to their stations. Admiral Quan Tejo stood at the main viewing window, watching something that had never been seen before in human space. A massive alien fleet hung in the darkness beyond the outer rim of the Sol system. The ships were huge, each one larger than any human vessel ever built. They were dark and twisted, covered in sharp edges and glowing red lights. There were hundreds of them, blocking out the stars behind them. Captain Park Ji-won ran up to the admiral with a datapad in his hands. His face was pale and worried. "Sir, our sensors are picking up energy readings we have never seen before. These ships are more powerful than anything in our databases." Tejo nodded slowly, but his expression remained calm. He had been expecting something like this for years. Humanity had been expanding into space for over 2 centuries, and they knew they would eventually meet other intelligent species. He just had not expected them to arrive with such obvious hostile intent. "How many ships total?" Tejo asked. "Over 800 confirmed, sir. Possibly more hiding behind the larger vessels. Their fleet extends for millions of kilometers in every direction." Lieutenant Kim Da-eun looked up from her communications station. She was young for her rank, but she was the best language specialist in the fleet. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. Multiple alien languages, but I think I can translate most of it." "Put it through the main speakers," Tejo ordered. The bridge fell silent as strange sounds filled the air. There were clicking noises, deep growling voices, and high-pitched whistles all speaking at once. Then Kim Da-eun began translating in real time, her voice steady despite the frightening message. "People of the small blue world, we are the Void Confederation. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have conquered 1,000,000 worlds and destroyed countless species who dared to resist us." The alien voices continued, and Kim Da-eun kept translating. "You will surrender all your colonies and worlds within 72 hours of this message. You will gather your entire species on your homeworld and await further instructions. If you refuse, we will demonstrate why we are called the Masters of the Void." Tejo raised his hand, signaling for quiet on the bridge. "Can you identify which species is speaking?" Kim Da-eun checked her equipment. "The main voice appears to be from a species called the Nexari. According to our limited alien contact databases, they are one of the oldest known spacefaring races. The other voices seem to be from various species under their control." "Continue the translation," Tejo said. The alien message resumed. "We possess weapons that can destroy entire star systems. We can make planets disappear as if they never existed. We can tear holes in space itself that swallow everything around them. No species has ever survived our void cannons." Park Ji-won looked at his admiral with concern. "Sir, should we contact Earth Command?" "The Council needs to know about this immediately." "Not yet," Tejo replied. "Let them finish their message first." The alien transmission continued for several more minutes. They spoke of worlds they had consumed, civilizations they had erased, and the hopelessness of resistance. They described their void cannons in detail, explaining how these weapons could remove matter from existence entirely, leaving nothing but empty space where planets and stars once stood. Finally, a single voice emerged from the chorus. This one was different, deeper and more commanding than the others. Kim Da-eun translated carefully. "I am Velthar the Destroyer, Supreme Commander of the Nexari Third Fleet. I have personally overseen the elimination of over 50 species. Your fate will be no different unless you submit to our will. We have studied your species from a distance. You are young and weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow and fragile. You have only been in space for a few hundred years while we have commanded the stars for millennia." The message paused, and then Velthar's voice became even more threatening. "However, we are not without mercy. Submit now and your species will be allowed to serve the Confederation. Your young will be educated in our ways. Your adults will work for the glory of the Empire. Refuse and we will demonstrate why nothing in this universe can withstand the void." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in complete silence. Park Ji-won was the first to speak. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Tejo walked slowly to his command chair and sat down. He looked at the alien fleet on the main screen, studying their formation and ship designs. After a long moment, he smiled slightly. "Open a channel to all human colonies and military installations," he said calmly. Kim Da-eun looked confused. "Sir, should I also patch in Earth Command and the Colonial Council?" "Yes, include everyone. Make sure this message reaches every human settlement from Mars to the outer colonies. The communications officer worked quickly at her station. Channel open, Admiral. You are broadcasting to the entire human sphere. Tejo stood up and faced the main camera. His expression was calm and confident, showing no sign of fear or panic. Citizens of humanity, this is Admiral Quan Tai-Ho of the Human Defense Force. A short time ago, we received a message from an alien confederation demanding our surrender. He paused and looked directly into the camera. They claim to possess weapons that can destroy entire star systems. They say they have conquered the galaxy, and that resistance is futile. They have given us 72 hours to submit to their rule. Around the galaxy, billions of humans watched their admiral address the greatest threat their species had ever faced. On Earth, the Colonial Council gathered in emergency session. On Mars, families huddled around communication screens. On the outer rim colonies, miners and farmers stopped their work to listen. I want every human citizen to remain calm, Tejo continued. Continue your daily activities. Go to work, attend school, care for your families. We are not going to surrender, and we are not going to panic. He smiled again, and this time it reached his eyes. Instead, I want all our scientists and engineers to take a look at the technical specifications these aliens have provided about their weapons. Dr. Choi Yejin at the Quantum Defense Institute should find them particularly interesting. The transmission ended, leaving humans across the galaxy with a strange feeling. Their admiral had just received an ultimatum from a powerful alien empire, and his response was to suggest their scientists study the enemy weapons as if they were an interesting research project. On the alien flagship, Velthar watched the human response with growing confusion. In 10,000 years of conquest, no species had ever reacted this way to his threats. They always begged for mercy or prepared for hopeless battles. They never calmly suggested studying his weapons technology. Something was very wrong with these humans, but Velthar could not figure out what it was. 24 hours had passed since the alien ultimatum, and across human space something strange was happening. The aliens had expected panic, mass evacuations, and desperate military preparations. Instead, they observed behavior that made no sense to them. On the industrial world of New Busan, engineer Lee Sung-min continued his regular work shift at the materials testing facility. He was humming an old Earth song while examining samples of void-resistant alloys. His colleagues worked alongside him as if nothing had changed. The aliens monitoring human communications heard him talking casually about interesting new applications for our current projects. Dr. Choi Yejin sat in her laboratory at the Quantum Defense Institute on Earth, reading through the technical specifications the aliens had included with their threat. She had spread the data across multiple screens and was taking detailed notes. Her assistant found her smiling as she worked. "Doctor, are you not worried about the alien weapons?" the young assistant asked. Choi looked up from her work with genuine surprise. "Worried? This is fascinating. Look at these energy patterns. They are using a brute force approach to space-time manipulation. It works, but the power requirements must be enormous." She pointed to one of her screens showing alien weapon diagrams. "See how they channel the void energy? They are fighting against natural space-time resistance instead of working with it. No wonder they need such massive ships to power these weapons." Meanwhile, at the Stellar Research Center on Luna, young astrophysicist Nam Soo-ho was preparing a research paper. The title read, "Observed Void Manipulation Techniques, a Comparative Analysis of Confederation Technology." He worked on it, as if he was studying interesting rock samples, instead of weapons designed to destroy his entire species. The aliens intercepted thousands of human communications, searching for signs of fear or surrender. Instead, they found conversations that disturbed them deeply. A message from a human mining colony near the outer rim reached alien listening posts. The new void-resistant hull plating arrived yesterday. Perfect timing with these aliens showing up. At least we know our equipment specifications are still ahead of galactic standards. Another transmission from a human cargo ship. Did you see those alien ship designs? They look like they were built 1,000 years ago. All those external power conduits and exposed weapon systems. One good hit to the wrong spot and their whole ship would probably shut down. On Mars, a group of human engineers gathered in their break room to discuss the alien fleet. The aliens recorded their entire conversation, hoping to learn about human military weaknesses. "Those void cannons are interesting," said one engineer. The focusing array is actually quite clever, though I think we solved the containment field problems better with our Mark 7 generators. The power distribution system bothers me, replied another. They are wasting at least 60% of their energy output. With proper field harmonics, they could get the same results with half the power consumption. A third engineer nodded in agreement. The targeting computers look advanced, but they seem to rely entirely on external sensors. One electromagnetic pulse and they would be firing blind. The aliens listening to this conversation felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold vacuum of space. These humans were discussing their ultimate weapons like engineering students critiquing a class project. Admiral Tejo received regular reports about alien monitoring activities. Captain Park Ji-won brought him the latest intelligence summary during the morning briefing. "Sir, the aliens are intercepting everything we transmit," Park reported. "They seem particularly interested in our scientific and technical communications." "Good," Tejo replied calmly. "Make sure our researchers publish their findings on open channels. No need to keep their work classified." Lieutenant Kim Da-eun looked up from her translation station. "Admiral, we are receiving increasingly agitated communications from the alien fleet. Commander Velthar has sent 3 additional messages demanding to know why we are not preparing for battle or evacuation." "What exactly is he asking?" Tejo inquired. Kim consulted her notes. "He wants to know why our military units are not mobilizing. He is confused about why our civilian population is not fleeing to emergency shelters. Most importantly, he cannot understand why our scientists are studying his weapons instead of fearing them." Tejo smiled the same calm smile he had worn since the crisis began. "Send a response to Commander Velthar. Tell him we are still analyzing the technical data they provided. Inform him that our preliminary assessment suggests their technology is quite primitive, but we appreciate them sharing their research with us." Park Ji-won stared at his admiral. "Sir, you want me to tell the alien commander that their ultimate weapons are primitive?" "Those are my exact words, Captain. Also, add that we find their approach to void manipulation interesting from a historical perspective. It reminds us of some of our early experimental designs from about 50 years ago." Across human space, the pattern continued. Human scientists published papers analyzing alien technology. Human engineers discussed improvements to alien weapon designs. Human military officers studied alien fleet formations and found them outdated and inefficient. Dr. Choi gave an interview to the Human Science Network that was broadcast throughout the colonies. "The Confederation has clearly put a lot of effort into developing these void weapons," she explained to the interviewer. "However, their approach has some significant limitations. The energy requirements alone would make these weapons impractical for most applications." The interviewer asked, "Doctor, are you saying these weapons are not dangerous?" "Oh, they are certainly dangerous," Choi replied quickly. "Any uncontrolled void manipulation is extremely hazardous. But the danger comes from their instability and unpredictability, not from their power output. It is like using explosives to perform surgery. Technically effective, but unnecessarily risky and imprecise." On the alien flagship, Velthar watched human broadcasts with growing alarm. His weapons master approached him with a worried expression. "Supreme Commander, the humans are not behaving like any species we have encountered before. They show no fear of our void cannons." "They must be hiding their true feelings," Velthar replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "Sir, our intelligence teams have been monitoring their communications for 36 hours. We have found no evidence of panic, no military mobilization, no evacuation preparations. Instead, they appear to be treating our weapons as subjects for academic study." Velthar stood silent for a long moment, staring at the blue planet that hung in space before his fleet. In 10,000 years of conquest, nothing like this had ever happened. Species either surrendered immediately or prepared for hopeless battle. They did not casually critique his technology and suggest improvements. Something was terribly wrong, but he could not understand what it was. 48 hours had passed and Commander Velthar had reached the end of his patience. The humans continued to ignore his threats and treat his ultimate weapons like interesting museum pieces. No species had ever shown such disrespect to the Void Confederation, and he would not tolerate it any longer. "Prepare the void cannons," Velthar commanded from his flagship bridge. "We will show these arrogant humans exactly why every intelligent species in the galaxy fears us." His weapons master hesitated. "Supreme Commander, should we target one of their colonies? A military installation, perhaps?" No, Velthar replied coldly. We will demonstrate our power on an uninhabited system first. Let them see what happens to worlds that defy us. Then they will understand the futility of resistance. The target was chosen quickly. Kepler 442 was a star system on the edge of human space that had once been a mining operation. The humans had abandoned it decades ago when the valuable minerals ran out. Now it contained nothing but 3 lifeless rocky planets orbiting a yellow star. The alien fleet moved into position around the Kepler system. Hundreds of ships formed a massive circle, their void cannons pointing toward the center. The weapons themselves were terrifying to look at. They appeared as swirling vortexes of dark energy that seemed to devour the light around them. Space itself looked twisted and wrong near the cannon muzzles. Velthar ordered his communications officer to broadcast the demonstration across all human channels. He wanted every human colony, every ship and every space station to witness what would happen to their worlds if they continued to resist. People of Earth, Velthar's voice echoed across human space. You have seen fit to mock our power and ignore our warnings. Now you will learn why we are called the Masters of the Void. Watch as we erase this star system from existence. This is the fate that awaits any who dare to oppose us. The void cannons began to charge. Energy readings spiked across the spectrum as the alien weapons drew power from their massive ships. The dark vortexes grew larger and more violent. Space around them flickered and warped as reality itself began to bend under the strain. On Earth, Dr. Choi Ye-jin watched the alien broadcast from her laboratory. She had invited several colleagues to observe the demonstration, treating it like any other scientific experiment. They had set up recording equipment to capture every detail of the alien weapons system in action. Look at those power fluctuations, she said to her assistant, pointing at their sensor readings. The energy output is enormous, but most of it is being wasted. They are fighting against the natural structure of space-time instead of working with it. At the Human Defense Force headquarters, Admiral Tae-ho and his staff watched the demonstration from the main command center. Captain Park Ji-won stood beside him, monitoring communications from across human space. Sir, are you certain we should not evacuate our outer colonies? Park asked quietly. If these weapons are as powerful as the aliens claim. Tae-ho held up his hand for silence. Watch carefully, Captain. This will be educational. In the Kepler system, the void cannons reached full charge. The alien ships themselves seemed to struggle under the enormous power requirements. Several smaller vessels had to link their power systems together just to operate a single weapon. Fire, Velthar commanded. The void cannons discharged simultaneously. Streams of dark energy lanced out toward the 3 planets of Kepler 442. Where the energy beam struck, something impossible happened. The planets did not explode or break apart. They simply ceased to exist. The first planet, a small rocky world similar to Mercury, vanished completely. There was no debris, no explosion, no trace that it had ever existed. The space where it had orbited was simply empty. The second planet, larger and more distant from the star, suffered the same fate. The void energy reached it and the planet disappeared as if it had been erased from reality itself. The third planet lasted only moments longer. The dark energy washed over it and removed every trace of its existence. Even the gravitational effects of the missing planets began to affect the system's star, causing solar flares and instability. Velthar smiled with satisfaction as he watched the demonstration. This was the reaction he expected from his enemies. Fear, despair, and the crushing realization that resistance was impossible. Broadcast our message again, he ordered. Tell the humans they have seen the power of the void. Their worlds will suffer the same fate unless they surrender immediately. But the human response was not what he expected. Across human space, communications channels filled with scientific discussions about what they had observed. Dr. Choi was the first to publish her analysis on the public networks. The alien void manipulation technique is indeed effective for large-scale matter displacement, she announced to her colleagues. However, the energy efficiency is terrible. They used approximately 50 times more power than necessary to achieve those results. She displayed her calculations on the screen. The quantum disruption pattern is actually quite elegant, though they seem unaware of the potential for gravitational cascade effects. Notice how their weapon fire destabilized the local star. That is a dangerous side effect that they clearly did not account for. Nam Suho from the Lunar Research Center joined the scientific discussion. Dr. Choi is correct about the efficiency problems. But look at their targeting systems. They had to position their entire fleet around the target system just to ensure accurate hits. That level of precision requirement makes these weapons impractical for most combat situations. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Park Ji-won received reports from human monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Admiral, our scientists are broadcasting detailed analysis of the alien weapon demonstration. They seem more interested in the technical aspects than in the threat these weapons represent. Admiral Tae-ho nodded approvingly. What is their overall assessment? Park consulted his reports. Dr. Choi describes the alien approach as impressive but outdated. Engineer Lee Sung-min calls it a brute force solution to an elegant problem. The general consensus seems to be that the alien technology is effective but extremely inefficient. And what about our military assessment? Tae-ho asked. Our tactical computers have identified 17 major weaknesses in the alien weapon systems. The charging time alone makes them vulnerable for over 6 minutes before each shot. The power requirements force them to operate from stationary positions, and the weapons appear to have no defensive capabilities against countermeasures. Tae-ho smiled and activated the general communications channel. Open a line to the alien fleet. When the connection was established, Tae-ho addressed Commander Velthar directly. Thank you for the demonstration, Commander. Our scientists found it quite informative. Your void manipulation technique is interesting, though we solved the efficiency problems decades ago. He paused, letting his words sink in. We appreciate you sharing your research with us. The historical perspective on early void technology development is valuable for our students. In the alien flagship, Velthar stared at the communication screen in shock. He had just erased 3 planets from existence, and the human response was to critique his methods and offer academic commentary. What do you mean you solved the efficiency problems? Velthar demanded. Tae-ho's smile grew wider. Commander, your weapons are impressive, but they are also incredibly wasteful. The power requirements alone must strain your entire fleet. We developed much more elegant solutions to space-time manipulation many years ago. That is impossible, Velthar replied. We have perfected these weapons over thousands of years. No species has ever created anything more advanced. With respect, Commander, Tae-ho said calmly. That may be because no other species needed to. We have been dealing with natural void phenomena in our space for decades. We had to learn efficient methods just to keep our colonies safe. The communication ended, leaving Velthar and his crew in stunned silence. For the first time in his long career of conquest, the alien commander faced an enemy that was not impressed by his ultimate weapons. Commander Velthar spent the next 12 hours trying to understand what the humans meant by their claims of superior technology. His science officers analyzed every piece of human communication they could intercept, searching for evidence of advanced void manipulation capabilities. What they found disturbed them greatly. Supreme Commander, his chief scientist reported, we have discovered references to something called reality anchors in human scientific databases. They appear to be defensive systems designed to stabilize local space-time. Explain, Velthar demanded. According to human records, these devices can create zones of absolute space-time stability. In theory, such technology would make our void cannons completely ineffective within the protected area. Velthar's eyes narrowed. In theory, but do they actually work? Unknown, sir. The humans have not provided any demonstrations of this technology. At that moment, a new transmission arrived from Admiral Tae-ho aboard the human flagship. Velthar accepted the communication, his patience wearing thin. Commander Velthar, Tae-ho began, you seem troubled by our earlier statements about void manipulation technology. Perhaps a demonstration would help clarify the situation. What kind of demonstration? Velthar asked suspiciously. We would like to show you our own approach to space-time manipulation. Please direct your sensors toward the Earth-Luna system. Specifically, focus on Research Station Omega and lunar orbit. Velthar signaled to his sensor operators, who immediately began scanning the area around Earth's moon. They detected a small human research facility. Nothing that appeared threatening or unusual. We see your station, Velthar reported. It appears to be a standard scientific facility. Correct, Tae-ho replied. Dr. Choi Ye-jin and her team have been working there on what we call defensive space-time stabilization. They are about to activate our latest prototype system. On Research Station Omega, Dr. Choi stood before a control panel that looked surprisingly simple for such advanced technology. The device itself was compact, no larger than a typical human computer server. It hummed quietly as power flowed through its crystalline components. "Beginning reality anchor activation sequence," she announced to her team. "All monitoring stations, please record full spectrum readings." Engineer Lee Sung-min monitored the power levels from his position at the main console. "Energy output is stable at normal operating levels. Power consumption is minimal." "That cannot be right," whispered Velthar's science officer as they watched from the alien fleet. "Our void cannons require the combined power of dozens of ships. How can their device operate on so little energy?" Dr. Choi completed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space around the research station began to shimmer with a strange golden energy that was barely visible to normal sensors. The alien ships detected the change immediately. Their instruments registered something that should have been impossible. A sphere of space approximately 1 million kilometers in diameter centered on the research station had become completely immune to space-time manipulation. "Run a detailed scan," Velthar ordered. "I want to know exactly what that field is doing." His science teams worked frantically, analyzing the strange energy surrounding the human station. The results made no sense according to everything they knew about physics and void manipulation. "Supreme Commander, the field appears to be reinforcing the natural structure of space-time itself. Within that area, matter and energy exist in a state of absolute stability. Our void cannons would have no effect there." "How is that possible?" Velthar demanded. "Unknown, sir. The technology appears to work on principles we do not understand." Admiral Taeho's voice came through the communication channel again. "As you can see, Commander, we have developed effective countermeasures for void-based weapons. But that is not the most interesting part of our demonstration." "What do you mean?" Velthar asked, though he was beginning to dread the answer. "The device Dr. Choi just activated is not a prototype," Taeho explained calmly. "It is actually an older model we use for training purposes. We wanted to show you something that was similar to your own technology level." Young astrophysicist Nam Soo-ho joined the conversation from his position on Luna. "Commander Velthar, what Admiral Taeho is trying to explain is that this reality anchor represents technology we developed over 30 years ago. We have much more advanced systems in current use." "That is impossible," Velthar responded. "No species in the galaxy has technology more advanced than ours." "With respect, Commander," Nam continued, "that might be because you have not met many species who needed to develop this technology. We live in a region of space with frequent natural void storms. We had to learn to protect ourselves, or our colonies would have been destroyed by random space-time disturbances." Dr. Choi added her own explanation. "What you call void cannons, we simply call void phenomena. They occur naturally in several areas of our space. The reality anchor network was developed as a safety system, the same way we might build protective shields against radiation or asteroid impacts." The implications of this statement hit Velthar like a physical blow. These humans were claiming that his ultimate weapon was nothing more than a natural hazard in their region of space, something they had learned to defend against as a matter of routine safety. "Prove it," he demanded. "Show me these advanced systems you claim to possess." "Very well," Admiral Taeho replied. "Please scan the following locations: Mars Colony, Europa Mining Station, the Titan Industrial Complex, and any of our major shipping routes." Velthar ordered his ships to scan the mentioned locations. What they discovered shattered his understanding of human capabilities. Every major human installation was protected by reality anchor fields. The shipping routes between colonies were lined with the devices, creating safe corridors through space. Even civilian transports carried smaller versions of the technology as standard safety equipment. "The human colonies are all protected," his science officer reported. "Every single installation we can detect has active space-time stabilization fields. Our weapons would be useless against any of them. But the most shocking discovery came when they scanned Earth itself. The entire planet was surrounded by a network of reality anchors so advanced and integrated that they were nearly invisible to alien sensors." "Supreme Commander," his weapons master said quietly, "Earth is completely protected. The anchor network around their homeworld is unlike anything we have ever seen. It would take us years just to understand how it functions." Admiral Taeho seemed to read Velthar's thoughts. "Commander, I should mention that our current anchor technology is approximately 50 years ahead of what we just demonstrated. We have been continuously improving our defensive systems as we encounter new types of void phenomena in unexplored space. We also developed offensive applications. Engineer Lee Sungmin added casually from his station, but we found them too dangerous for practical use. The side effects were unpredictable, and the power requirements were enormous. We decided that defensive applications were much more useful and safe. Captain Park Ji-won provided the final piece of information that completed Velthar's humiliation. Commander, our records show that human scientist Dr. Wang Hyun-soo successfully created our first void cannon 53 years ago. After testing showed it was unreliable and potentially dangerous to the operator, the project was cancelled. We determined that such weapons were unsuitable for civilized use. Velthar sat in his command chair, staring at the blue planet that had seemed so helpless just days before. Everything he believed about his empire's technological superiority had been destroyed in a single conversation. Not only were his ultimate weapons useless against human defenses, but the humans had developed and abandoned similar technology decades ago because they considered it too crude and dangerous for practical use. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. Admiral Taeho's response was not what any conqueror expected to hear. "Nothing, Commander. We simply want you to understand the situation clearly. Your weapons cannot harm us, but we have no desire for conflict. If you are interested in learning about safer approaches to void manipulation, we would be happy to share our research." For the first time in 10,000 years of conquest, Commander Velthar the Destroyer faced an enemy that was offering to help him instead of begging for mercy. The alien fleet retreated to a safe distance from human space while Commander Velthar and his science teams desperately tried to understand what they had encountered. For 3 days they analyzed every piece of human technology they had observed, searching for weaknesses or deceptions. What they discovered was worse than their worst fears. "Supreme Commander," his chief scientist reported during an emergency briefing, "we have completed our analysis of human space-time manipulation technology. The results are unprecedented in our 10,000 years of galactic conquest." Velthar sat motionless in his command chair. He had not slept since the human demonstration, haunted by the implications of what he had witnessed. "Give me your findings." "Sir, the humans have not just learned to defend against void weapons. They have completely mastered void manipulation itself. Their technology is at least 50 years ahead of our most advanced systems." The science officer activated a holographic display, showing human technical specifications they had intercepted. According to their historical records, they developed their first working void cannon in 2472, over 50 years ago. The project was led by a scientist named Dr. Wang Hyun-soo. "And what happened to this weapon?" Velthar asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "They tested it once, sir. The weapon successfully erased a small asteroid. But the test also caused unexpected gravitational disturbances that briefly destabilized a nearby star. After reviewing the results, the humans declared the technology unsuitable for practical applications due to unpredictable side effects and excessive energy requirements." Another science officer continued the briefing. "Our analysis shows that the human test weapon was actually more efficient than our current void cannons. They achieved complete matter displacement using approximately 60% of the energy our weapons require." Velthar closed his eyes, feeling the weight of defeat settling on his shoulders. "So they developed superior weapons and then abandoned them?" "Correct, sir. The humans classified void cannon technology as unnecessarily dangerous and focused instead on defensive applications. They developed reality anchors not as military weapons but as civilian safety equipment. The implications were staggering. The weapon that had built the Void Confederation's empire was considered by humans to be an obsolete safety hazard. There is more, Supreme Commander," the science officer continued. "We have intercepted human educational materials about void phenomena. They teach this subject to their university students as a basic safety course." The holographic display showed a human textbook titled Introduction to Spacetime Hazards and Protection Protocols. The chapter on void manipulation was presented as a routine workplace safety topic, similar to radiation protection or chemical handling procedures. "They treat our ultimate weapon like an industrial accident waiting to happen," Velthar said quietly. "Worse than that, sir. According to their safety manuals, any human installation that detects uncontrolled void manipulation automatically activates emergency protocols. They consider our weapons to be equivalent to toxic waste spills or reactor failures. Velthar reviewed intercepted human communications from the past week. What he read destroyed the last of his confidence. A message from a human cargo ship captain. Detected some kind of void disturbance in the outer system. Probably just natural phenomena. But we should file a hazard report with the Safety Commission. Someone might need to install additional anchor buoys in that area. A report from a colonial administrator. The new reality anchor grid is operational around New Shanghai. We can now safely allow civilian traffic through the previously restricted Voidstorm region. Insurance rates for shipping should drop significantly. A casual conversation between human engineers. Did you hear about those aliens with the unstable void generators? Someone should tell them about proper containment protocols before they hurt themselves. That technology looks like it was built without any safety considerations. Supreme Commander, his weapons master approached hesitantly. There is something else you need to know. Our intelligence teams have discovered human discussions about our weapons technology. What kind of discussions? Velthar asked. They are debating whether to report us to their galactic safety commission for operating dangerous equipment without proper protective measures. The alien commander stared at his subordinate. They want to report us for safety violations? Yes, sir. Dr. Choi Ye-jin has published a paper suggesting that our fleet operations violate basic space-time manipulation safety standards. She is concerned that our weapons might cause accidental damage to nearby star systems. Velthar accessed the human scientific paper and read it with growing disbelief. Dr. Choi had analyzed his void cannons and concluded that they were shoddily constructed, poorly maintained, and operated without adequate safety protocols. Her paper recommended that any species operating such dangerous equipment should be provided with proper training and safety equipment to prevent accidental casualties or environmental damage. She is treating us like children playing with dangerous toys, Velthar said. The paper has been well received in human scientific circles, the intelligence officer reported. Several human organizations have offered to provide free safety training and equipment upgrades to our fleet. Free? Velthar repeated. Yes, sir. The Human Space Safety Foundation has volunteered to send technical advisors to help us upgrade our systems to meet basic galactic safety standards. They consider it a humanitarian mission. Captain Park Ji-won's personal logs, intercepted by alien intelligence, provided the final insult. The alien void cannons remind me of the old industrial equipment my grandfather used in the early fusion plants. Functional, but incredibly wasteful and dangerous to operate. Amazing that they never developed proper containment systems or efficiency improvements. Someone should help them modernize their technology before they hurt themselves. Velthar realized that in the space of 1 week, his empire had gone from being feared conquerors to being viewed as a primitive species that needed safety assistance from more advanced civilizations. His weapons master approached with another report. Supreme Commander, we have received additional communications from human civilian organizations. What do they want now? Velthar asked wearily. The Human Educational Exchange Program has offered to provide scholarships for our young scientists to study advanced space-time manipulation at their universities. The Human Cultural Foundation wants to establish diplomatic relations, and the Human Merchant Alliance has proposed a trade agreement for mutually beneficial technology exchange. They want to trade with us? Velthar was beyond surprise at this point. Yes, sir. They are interested in our ship metallurgy and long-range communication systems. In exchange, they offer to share their basic reality anchor technology and provide technical support for upgrading our fleet safety systems. Velthar stood up and walked to the main viewing window of his flagship. The blue planet Earth hung in space before him, protected by defensive systems he could not even fully understand. Around it moved human ships that treated his ultimate weapons as outdated curiosities. Sir, his chief scientist said quietly, what are your orders? For the first time in his long career, Commander Velthar the Destroyer had no answer. He had built his reputation on inspiring fear with superior technology. Now he faced a species that was so far ahead of him that they wanted to help him catch up. The humans had not defeated him in battle. They had made battle irrelevant by advancing so far beyond his capabilities that conflict was meaningless. Send a message to the Confederation Council, he finally said. Tell them we have encountered a situation unlike anything in our previous experience. We need new instructions. What should we tell them about the humans, sir? Velthar was quiet for a long moment. Tell them we have found a species that views our greatest weapons as safety hazards and wants to help us upgrade our technology for free. He paused, still staring at the impossible blue world. Tell them everything we thought we knew about galactic civilization was wrong. 1 week had passed since Commander Velthar sent his report to the Confederation Council. The alien fleet remained at the edge of human space, motionless and uncertain. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Void Confederation faced a situation their military doctrine had never prepared them for. The response from the Confederation Council arrived as expected. It was brief and harsh. Destroy the human species immediately or face court-martial for cowardice. Velthar read the message 3 times before calling his senior officers to an emergency meeting. Around the conference table sat the commanders who had helped him conquer 50 worlds. Now they looked at him with confusion and growing fear. The Council has ordered us to attack Earth directly, Velthar announced. They refuse to believe that our void cannons are ineffective against human defenses. His weapons master shifted uncomfortably. Supreme Commander, we have run dozens of combat simulations. Our weapons cannot penetrate the human reality anchor networks. An attack would accomplish nothing except revealing our complete technological inferiority. The Council believes we are lying, Velthar replied. They think we have been deceived by human propaganda or that we are too cowardly to fight. What are your orders, sir? Asked his chief science officer. Velthar was quiet for a long moment, considering his options. He could follow the Council's orders and launch a hopeless attack that would only embarrass his empire further. He could retreat and face court-martial for disobedience, or he could choose a third option that had never been considered in Confederation history. Open a communication channel to Admiral Teho, he said finally. When the human admiral appeared on the screen, he looked as calm and confident as ever. Good morning, Commander Velthar. How can we help you today? The casual friendliness in Teho's voice still unsettled the alien commander. Admiral, my government has ordered me to attack your homeworld directly. They do not believe that your defenses are as effective as we have reported. I see, Teho replied thoughtfully. That puts you in a difficult position. Would you like us to provide additional evidence of our defensive capabilities? What do you mean? We could demonstrate our planetary defense systems more clearly. Perhaps a full-scale test would convince your leaders that an attack would be unsuccessful. Dr. Choi Ye-jin appeared on the communication screen beside Admiral Teho. Commander, we have been monitoring your fleet's energy signatures. Your void cannons appear to be operating at dangerous instability levels. We are concerned that attempting to fire them might cause damage to your own ships. Damage to our ships? Velthar asked. Yes, Engineer Lee Sung-min joined the conversation. Your power systems are showing severe strain from maintaining those void cannons at ready status for so long. We calculate a 73% chance of catastrophic power failure if you attempt to fire them in their current condition. Velthar looked at his own engineering reports. The human was correct. His ships had been running their weapons at combat readiness for over a week, and the power systems were beginning to show dangerous stress fractures. We could help you safely discharge your weapons without causing damage to your fleet, Dr. Choi offered. We have developed procedures for handling unstable void energy systems. You want to help us? Velthar asked in disbelief. Commander, Admiral Teho said seriously, we have no desire to see your crews injured by faulty equipment. Regardless of our political differences, we do not want anyone to be hurt by preventable accidents. Young Nam Suho appeared on the screen with a datapad in his hands. We have prepared a complete technical analysis of your fleet's current condition. Your void cannons are operating far beyond safe parameters. If you attempt to use them, you risk destroying your own ships. The alien commander felt a chill run through his body. Not only were his weapons useless against human defenses, but they had become dangerous to his own forces. What do you propose? Velthar asked. We can deploy temporary reality anchors around your fleet, Teho explained. This will create a safe zone where you can discharge your weapons without risking damage to your ships or crew. Think of it as a controlled test firing. And then what? Velthar demanded. After we prove that our weapons cannot harm you, what happens to my fleet? Admiral Teho smiled, but this time it was warm and genuine rather than confident. Commander, that depends entirely on what you want to do. We have no interest in conquering your empire or demanding your surrender. We simply want to coexist peacefully. The Confederation Council will never accept defeat, Velthar said. They will send more fleets, larger armies. Then we will deal with them the same way we have dealt with you, Teho replied calmly. We will show them that conflict is unnecessary and offer to help them upgrade their technology. Captain Park Ji-won joined the conversation with a proposal that shocked everyone present. Commander Velthar, would you be interested in a cultural exchange program? We have much to learn from your empire's history and achievements. Your species has accomplished remarkable things in your 10,000 years of spaceflight. You want to learn from us? Velthar could not hide his surprise. Certainly, Dr. Choi said enthusiastically. Your long-range communication systems are fascinating. Your ship construction techniques show innovations we had not considered. Your stellar navigation methods could improve our own exploration programs. Most importantly, Engineer Lee added, your empire has united dozens of different species under a single government. That kind of diplomatic achievement is something humanity has never attempted on such a scale. Velthar stared at the humans on his screen. They were offering him something that had never happened in the history of galactic conquest. Instead of demanding his surrender, they wanted to exchange knowledge. Instead of destroying his fleet, they wanted to help him repair it. Instead of fearing his empire, they wanted to learn from it. My government will call this treason, he said quietly. Your government is not here, Admiral Teho pointed out. You are the commander on the scene. The decision is yours to make. What exactly are you offering? Safe discharge of your weapons to prevent damage to your fleet, Teho listed. Technical assistance to repair any systems damaged by prolonged combat readiness. Educational exchange programs between our species. Trade agreements that benefit both civilizations. And in return, nothing, Teho said simply. We ask for nothing in return except the opportunity to learn from each other. Velthar turned to his officers. What do you think? His chief science officer spoke first. Supreme Commander, the humans are offering us knowledge that could advance our civilization by centuries. Their safety protocols alone could prevent thousands of casualties in our fleets. His weapons master nodded in agreement. Sir, our weapons are indeed becoming dangerous to operate. We need technical assistance, and they are the only ones qualified to provide it. The crew morale reports are concerning, added his intelligence officer. Our people are confused and frightened by this situation. They do not understand why we are not fighting or retreating. A peaceful resolution would be welcomed by the ranks. Velthar made his decision. Admiral Teho, we accept your offer of assistance. Within hours, human ships began deploying reality anchors around the alien fleet. The process was conducted with remarkable efficiency and courtesy. Human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to safely discharge the overloaded void cannons. Human medical teams offered assistance to alien crew members suffering from stress and exhaustion. Dr. Choi personally supervised the discharge procedure, explaining each step to fascinated alien scientists. The key is to create a controlled space-time sink that can absorb the excess void energy without causing gravitational disruption, she explained. We developed this technique after several early accidents in our own research programs. As the alien weapons safely discharged their dangerous energy buildup, something unprecedented happened. The human and alien crews began talking to each other. Language barriers were quickly overcome with translation devices. Technical discussions became friendly conversations. Scientific debates turned into collaborative research sessions. Engineer Lee, Sungmin found himself explaining human manufacturing techniques to an alien engineer who had been building starships for 2 centuries. Your hull design is actually quite brilliant, Lee admitted. We never considered using layered metal. Crystallization for structural support. Nam Suho discovered that alien navigation computers used mathematical principles that human scientists had only theoretical knowledge of. Your stellar positioning algorithms are far more elegant than ours, he told an alien navigator. Could you teach us how they work? On the bridge of his flagship, Commander Velthar watched his crew working peacefully alongside the humans who had been their enemies just days before. His communication officer approached with a message from the Confederation Council, demanding an immediate status report. What should I tell them, Supreme Commander? The officer asked. Velthar looked out at the human ships that surrounded his fleet. They were not there as conquerors or captors, but as helpers and teachers. He thought about the offer of educational exchange, the promise of technological advancement, and the possibility of a future where conquest was unnecessary because cooperation was more profitable. Tell the council,